Hello everyone, good day, and I'm happy to see you guys. So today I want us to look at something what I look for before recommending any land or property to my clients. Right. So first of all, this video is for anyone who wants to buy land but don't want to risk their money or rely on agent promises. Right. But if you're only interested in cheap lands, then I believe this might not actually work for you. Right. So I don't recommend any type of land. In fact, I say no to more lands than I promote, right? Because I have things that I look out for before recommending any land to anyone looking to invest, right? So in this video, I'll be showing you my 6 recommendation checklist that I use to check out if a land is suitable for my clients before they buy. Right? And number one is that, but before I start, I want to make it clear that I'm just here to reduce risk and regret. Right? I believe that if a land is not useful for a long term, then I rather lose the sale than lose trust. Right. So let's get into it. So number one is the title and acquisition status. Right. The title and acquisition status. So what I look out for if this land is under government acquisition, right, or if it can be charted. So I look out for these two things. Is it free from the government, and can it be charted? Being charted is that can you go to the land bureau to confirm if the land is free from the government or not? That is what being charted means. So I look out for those two things. If the land is free and can be charted, right? That is the title and the acquisition status. So this is the number one thing I look out for before recommending a land. If I can't confirm the acquisition status, then I don't think I can, then it's a no for me, right? It's a no for me. So the number two that I always look out for is the documentation clarity. The documentation clarity in the sense that I know documentation varies across locations. There are some places that you get excision, some places C of O, some places deed of conveyance or deed of assignment, right? But there's one thing that is always common, like you must get these things in any location. This is the survey plan and your payment receipt, right? So the survey plan must be given to you regardless of the location. It's actually what you get because it helps you know the coordinates of your land, the boundaries of your land. So in terms of documentation clarity, for the other ones it varies by location, but you must get your survey plan and your receipts. But there are some lands that you can get your deed of conveyance or assignment. Some you have your excision, and the other ones you may get C of O, right? And the one thing you have to pay attention to is stuff like under process. When you hear the title is under process, then it's a red flag. I don't sell such land. I don't recommend such land to my clients because I know it's obviously a big risk that they may not recover from. Right. So that's the number. The second thing I look out for. So the third thing I look out for is the location logic. Now, it is important to actually know and look out for the location of your land in the sense that you have to check for the access. If the road is accessible, you have to check for government presence. That's to say, is there any planned projects or ongoing project in this environment, right? And also development in surrounding that property. It could be by the government or by individuals, because I believe that growth must be visible or planned, not imagined. Yeah, growth must be visible or planned, not imagined. So in terms of the location, you look out for these things. The government presence, that's in terms of any planned project or ongoing project. We have in the surrounding development by either the government or individuals, and how accessible the road is to that property, because it will make your property traceable and it will be easy for you to resell it or build on it, right? So that's the third thing, location law. Then the number four is the now this number four is actually very important. It is who the land is actually for. Who the land is actually for. Now there are lands that are for immediate builders, that for those that want to build immediately, right? There are lands that are for and those that want to hold for long term. There are lands that are for speculation, right? Now by speculation I mean you are willing to buy the land and probably sell it later, you're willing to buy it and hold it and then resell it. You're not looking to build immediately. Now this means that you're betting on what the location will look like, not what the location already is. That is what speculation means. So if you're buying for speculation, that means you're willing to wait for what that location will look like in years to come, so you can now resell at a higher price than what you bought before the location was civilized or developed. So that is what speculation actually means. So there are lands that are for immediate builders, those that want to build immediately on it, and there are ones that are for long-term value, right? So this is actually the important thing you have to know. Who actually, like, what the land actually serves, because sometimes a land can be good to one person and be bad to the other person. Not that the land in general is bad, but because the person's goal and plans doesn't align with the land. That is why you have to actually know what the person needs and how the land or the property can suit his or her goal. Right, that is what I look out for. If the person wants something he can hold for a long time, you don't have to now recommend something else. If the person wants something he or she can build on immediately, then you cannot come and be recommending a property that will take 3 to 5 years. If the person is even intending to build in few months time, you now want to give him a property that will take up to 5 years before development can come into that place. Right, that is why it is good to know who the land is actually meant or suitable for. Right, so the number 5 is the risk versus price balance. Risk versus price balance. Now in this one, it's actually, I've heard something like stuff like cheap land and expensive land, and I want to say that cheap land doesn't equal good land, and same way expensive land doesn't mean the land is safe. Now there are things that makes a land good and safe. Now the things that makes a land good and safe is, one, the legal safety. That's making sure that the titles are verified and it's not under government acquisition, right? Legal safety. Another one is the functional location. Is the place accessible and is there development there? You get, like, is any, like, would there be kind of migration? Are people looking to come into that place? Is there any new services that are sprouting from that location? That's to say, any location you're considering, is any good thing or commercial development coming into that place? Because as you're looking to maybe get a plot there, you may want to check if it's good for residential, if it's good for commercial or industrial use, right? And again, I also look at the rational aspect of price. Now you have to make sure your price matches with the demand of that place, because sometimes there can be price hype. That's where you may see a land that is expensive. When you look into it, you'll now see that it's not actually worth, or it's not actually matching the demand of that location. So you have to check the rational value of that land in terms of matching the price and the demand of that location, right? So these are the things that I feel, that I know makes a good land and a safe land, not actually if it's cheap or expensive, right? So going to the number 6 on the things I recommend before, on the things I look for before recommending a land, is the exit potential. Now you have to check for the resale balance, like the resale demand, if you can resell this property, and you also have to check for the rental potential if applicable. That's to say, if you can you build on this place and probably rent it out and be getting income monthly or stuff like that. So you have to check for these things. And I also know that if you buy a plot or a land, a property, and you cannot think of or explain who you sell that land to in years to come, then you have to think twice, because as you're buying a property, you have to have an idea or probably have a picture of the kind of person that can probably or possibly buy that property back from you if you intend to sell it, right? So that's number 6. That's the 6th reason, and this is what I do or look out for each time before I recommend any property or land to my clients, right? So now, the reason I say no to some lands, there are reasons I say no to some land, and these are unclear ownership, legal ambiguity. That's to say, the legal titles and the documents and the processes surrounding it are not actually clear, and there are some hidden truths and important things that are not made open, right? And again, unrealistic promises. These are things that I look out for and are the things that make me say no to most lands, and I don't recommend such lands to my clients. Right. So if you're considering any form of land investment this year, right, and you need guidance or help, my WhatsApp is in the description. You can reach out to me and I'll be willing to help you out and check out what works and what doesn't work. Right. Thank you.